Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Couch.
Morning.
My name is Cheryl Renazzi. Your case has been assigned to me this morning, so I'll start off asking you some questions. So, Mr. Couch, how old are you, sir?
45.
45. How long you been in jail?
Be 17 months tomorrow.
17 months, you say? Of a 5-year sentence. So you're here today because you were convicted for 5 counts of indecent behavior with a juvenile. What concerns me as I review your record is at the time these offenses occurred over a long period of time, you held a position of authority over some young men. You were principal at the Apostolic Tabernacle Christian School. Is that correct? And so it concerns me that in that position of authority, you took advantage of children, really. So tell me about what programs have you been able to take advantage of that might help you learn about that activity in yourself?
I've been, since June, I've been in the Louisiana Risk Management Sex Offender Program. And then I've also taken every other class that was available to me, not just in that regard, but just anything to improve myself.
So what phase are you in the risk management?
I'm actually ready to test on phase 2. We just, due to COVID, we've had some holdbacks and that type of things.
Right, I understand. There's some indication perhaps in the record there may have been, are you a trustee now?
Yes, ma'am, right.
So your trustee status was taken from you, but you've been restored to that status?
It was never taken from me.
Never taken. Because there was an incident that caused me some concern, but I understand that's been removed from the record.
Well, right, exactly. There was an investigation, but nothing come of it. No,
Okay.
They told me I never lost my trustee status.
So in the classes that you were able to take, and I understand that's, those resources are limited because of COVID. Were there any victim awareness classes you were able to take?
No, ma'am.
So have you given any thought on the impact? Obviously, we'll hear from victims today in opposition, but have you given any thought to the long-term impact you may have had on victims?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, tell us about it. Tell us what you think?
Well, I've just been thinking since being here and seeing, the lives of others that I've been around and everyone's been affected by other things. And it's just made me more aware of how easy it is for denial and self-justification, that type of thing. And it's allowed me to take full responsibility for my negative actions. And I've learned from my mistakes, which led to my incarceration. And I don't know. I mean, I would do anything that I could. I know there is no reconciliation, but I would do anything in my power to help others to be, to get through this, or anyone that I could be a help to.
Okay. We'll hear from the DA's office. We have a letter in the record, but we'll hear from her shortly. You must know also there's law enforcement opposition to an early release for you. That's as part of the process, we reach out to those concerned, and law enforcement has expressed opposition. I don't have any other particular questions of you. Let me ask the officer in the room with you. I didn't catch his name. Sir, is there anything that you can tell us about Mr. Couch?
Ma'am, not really, because I just met him when he came here. I really didn't know him when he was on the streets. So I'm really not familiar with what went on. So there's really nothing that I can interject and tell you about it.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Kelsey, I have no other questions.
Okay, we'll now hear from Mr. Cody.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and make your brief statement.
First of all, I'd just like to, of course, I'll say I oppose. We all have our mistakes in life, but at the same time, we have to, pay the consequences, and we have to serve our time and do what we have to do. you know, so I oppose, you know, the time must be served, justice has to be served. And then, you know, I will say, that all is forgiven. I don't hold any bitterness, any grudges. So I do forgive for what has happened, but at the same time, justice has to be served, and that's just the way it has to be. So.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now we'll hear from Keith.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead and make your statement.
All right. My name is Keith Thornton. I currently live in Paragould, Arkansas now. I will say that I am in opposition. And if y'all don't mind, I'll go ahead and basically recite some words that Stephen has Michael Couch has once said to me. So there was one day in particular, we were at school. Needless to say, I got in trouble. I was given lines, whole 9 yards. It ended up being like 2 or 3 days after the lines, and we were still writing them. And our fingers were hurting, and we was begging, please take away these lines. Pete, please take away these lines. He said, y'all listen to me for a second. I'm about to give y'all some words of wisdom. And he said, in life comes choices, and sometimes we don't always make the right ones. And with bad choices come consequences. You got to suck it up and suffer the consequences you were given. So that's what I'm here to say today. Like Cody said, I ain't got nothing I hold against him. As far as bitterness, anger, all is forgiven, because I ain't got time to deal with bitterness. I ain't got time to deal with all that. I'm trying to push it out of my mind, whole 9 yards. I'm about moving forward. But like Cody said, time must be served. A lesson must be learned for the future of other young men, and to protect them from a situation like this happen again. A full lesson must be learned. So a full sentence must be served. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And now we'll hear from Kevin.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Go ahead and make your statement, sir.
I like to re-say that it is, it's been hard going through the things that we've had to remember of going through since, for me, since 5th grade. I was really close to this family and close to Stephen himself, and I called him a dear friend, and it has done more than wrecked our lives. We pulled out because of the lies that's been told, because of the truth that wouldn't be spoken. They wouldn't tell the truth. So, it's hard to hear that, I went through these meetings and that I've learned my lesson. Whenever I'm hearing stories that it's not true. I don't believe for 1 minute that he's sorrowful, because he never said he was sorry in the courtroom from the beginning. They have made a joke and a laugh of this, even from the church group he was with, has spoken things all over this country to where it has come back to bite us. Churches that we tried to attend that we thought we had faith in, we moved there just to find out that this just keeps following us. And it's just been one thing after another. And so I'm opposed for him being able to get out. I think he should serve his time for one main reason, because I don't truly believe that he's truly sorry for what he's done. And what's going to stop him from doing it again to somebody else? Because it's so easy to just get right back into the same rut that you're in if you're not sorry for what you've done. And I think that should be all I need to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Now hear from Miss Penny, the DA's office. You're on mute.
Got it. Am I off?
All right,
mute?
we got you.
Thank you.
We can hear you now. Yes, ma'am.
All right. My name is Penny DeSear. I am the district attorney who handled this case in Franklin Parish.
And I really appreciate the opportunity to come in here today and tell you how strongly opposed I am to any kind of early release for Michael Couch. I know we all agree that when a child is molested, they suffer a lot of repercussions throughout their life due to that. And it's particularly true when that abuse comes at the hand of somebody that they trusted, somebody who was an authority over them, like Michael Couch, who was their principal, their teacher, their religious guide, their mentor. I don't believe, like these victims have said, that Michael Couch is remorseful for this. I never saw any signs of remorse. He says now in his statement that he wants to do whatever he can to help these victims recover. Well, serving his time would help them recover. I mean, I look back now about these meetings that I had with these victims, and we entered into this plea agreement, and I led them to believe that he would serve 75% of his sentence. That was based on my experience of sex offenders over the past 3 decades. And he's only served about 21% of his 66-month sentence. And I just do not think that's enough. I do not think that he has been rehabilitated. I think he's got a lot more to learn and to own when it comes to the damage that he's done. And the victims did such an awesome job in their presentation. I don't think there's anything else I can really add, but I would love to answer any questions that anybody has about the charges. Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am, I don't think we do. I think we're good. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Couch, would you like to make a statement on your behalf, and then we'll let Mr. Johnson wrap it up?
Yes, sir, I would.
Go ahead.
I would like to say that I take full responsibility for my negative actions and have learned from my mistakes which have led to my incarceration. I realize that I'm not the only one who has been affected by my poor judgment. I sincerely regret the harm that has been inflicted on everyone involved, as well as the emotional hurt that has brought to my family. Since being incarcerated, I've used this time to improve myself by taking every class available to me. I completed the following Department of Corrections Certified Treatment and Rehabilitation Program classes: Louisiana Risk Management Module 1 and 2, IC3 Literacy, FDIC Money Smart for Young Adults, and the Reentry Program. The Reentry Program consisted of 100 hours of training in DOC Standardized Pre-Release Program and the TUDU Standard Workbook, the Delta Community College Job Skills Computer class, and the Delta Community College Work Release Finance class. The Risk Management Sex Offender class has given me a better understanding of overcoming the denial and justification of my negative actions and behavior, and how to avoid making future mistakes. I've been a trustee for the past 15 months, and I'm currently the reentry orderly and class facilitator. I realize that I can't make restitution. However, I'm willing to use my knowledge and experience as a facilitator in other programs to help others who are trying to overcome past mistakes and face the challenges ahead. Upon my release, I will return home to my wife of 25 years and my daughters who have supported me through all of this. I will also resume work and be able to financially support my family again. If granted parole, I will abide by all regulations, and I'm willing to continue any counseling and attend any programs required. And I want to say to all the victims and everyone involved, I sincerely apologize, and I am very remorseful and sorry for what has been done. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Johnson, would you like to wrap it up?
Yes, sir. Honorable members of the parole board, Ms. DeSere, and the victims. I am Eric Johnson. I represent Mr. Couch. I was retained by his family to represent him at this hearing. I have gotten to know Mr. Couch as well as his family over the past several months. I can tell you that after almost 30 years of doing this for a living as a criminal defense lawyer, I have developed a level of understanding of the parole process and the responsibilities which all of you face who sit on these panels and make these very difficult judgments in deciding whether or not to grant parole to offenders who come before the board. I further understand that parole eligibility is a privilege and not a right. I really sympathize with y'all because you have the awesome responsibility of conducting these hearings and making the judgments which you have to make with regard to granting release to offenders who appear before you. I would want to stress that Mr. Couch, of course, makes no excuses for his criminal conduct and what he did with these children. It is inexcusable what he did. The fact that he victimized those children, and as Ms. Renatza stated, did so when he had a position of authority or control over them, makes it, I think, especially egregious conduct. However, Mr. Couch did accept responsibility for that conduct when he pled guilty. He did not put any of these victims through a trial, and often, unfortunately, that is not the case. A lot of victims are put through the trial process, which is a stress and strain upon them, as Mr. Sayers well aware. She tries these cases as I do, and it's never a good thing for the children involved to have to go through that process. Mr. Couch spared his victims in these instances that traumatic experience of having to go through a trial when he pled guilty. When he got sentenced and was remanded to custody, he immediately began that process of rehabilitating himself. And I think you have letters, Ms. Renatza, or someone had asked, one of the board members had asked if the staff member from the Franklin Parish Detention Center knew Mr. Couch. Unfortunately, that staff member does not know him personally, but you have some letters from Deputy Sheriff Mark Kemp from the Franklin Parish Sheriff's Office in support of Mr. Couch and his being granted parole, as well as Ramian Crockett, who also is employed at Franklin Parish Detention Center, where Mr. Couch has been serving his sentence in support of his release on parole. The mission statement, I think, of DOC is, as you are all aware, is to punish offenders and to encourage rehabilitation. Mr. Couch has been punished in the sense that he's been incarcerated. However, I think the punishment that he receives for his criminal conduct goes far beyond the time he spent in jail at the Franklin Parish Detention Center. He did a lot of harm to his family, his wife, and his 3 daughters. And I would state for the record that they would be here on this Zoom. I think they had been given information that the hearing was actually going to start at 11:30, and they are, Mr. Guthrie, who works with me, tells me they are in a Zoom waiting room in this hearing somewhere, and that they are 100% behind him and behind his release. They were supposed to be here in my office for this hearing, but again, they were told, I think the hearing was going to begin later than it actually began. But I've spoken with his wife and his daughters. They've been in my office more than one occasion so that we could get some background on Mr. Couch before the hearing. They are in full support of him and of his release. And again, he basically did irreparable harm to his family in what happened and what he did. And Mr. Couch and I have discussed that. He feels very remorseful for that. He feels remorse for what he did where these victims are concerned. And I believe has done everything since he's been incarcerated to try to better himself by taking every available course and class that he could take. And of course, with the restrictions and the problems with COVID, he's not been able to complete some of those courses. He is in phase 2 of the sex offender course. And I understand that the board would certainly want that course to be completed by Mr. Couch as a condition of any kind of release on parole. My understanding is that he can complete the course while on parole. And I know from experience in representing sex offenders that if he were granted parole, his parole officer would make certain that he was in counseling or sex offender courses and counseling that they have sex offenders take while on parole supervision. And of course, the board is well aware of what consequences, collateral consequences come with sex offender status with regard to registration and notification and everything Mr. Couch will be forced to do if you were released. I think that, again, the board has a difficult decision in this case, as it does in every case. These cases, I think, are more difficult than when you're considering parole eligibility for a drug offender or someone who's up before you who's committed a property crime. Certainly, these are hard cases, and they're hard cases for the board to consider. But I do think Mr. Couch has done everything he could possibly do after being committed to custody in the Department of Corrections to better himself and to deal with the problem that he had that led to his conviction and his incarceration. And again, I
Yes,
want to
sir.
apologize to the victims who've been present by Zoom today. And I certainly sympathize with what they were put through by Mr. Couch. I do
Yes,
believe that Mr. Couch has reformed himself as much as he could since being incarcerated. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
All right, is the panel prepared to vote? Ms. Renatson?
Yes. First, I'd like to say thank you to Keith and Cody and Kevin for your courage in being here with us today. Your participation, your words were very important to the process. So thank you for your courage to do so. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your presentation. It was very helpful.
Thank you.
Mr. Couch, it is a difficult case, and I do agree that you caused irreparable harm to these men, these young men, and your family. And there will be conditions after release, as mandated by law in terms of sex offenders. For me today, I can't, in good conscience, vote to release you until you've completed the sex offender treatment program sponsored by DOC. You've got time to finish that program, reapply for another hearing. But based on the opposition that's been expressed here today and the need to complete that program, my vote today is to deny your parole.
Ms. Wise?
I too want to thank all the victims who were here today. I thank you for your courage for participating in the process. It was very, very helpful. I concur with my colleague. My vote is to deny as well for the same reason that's been outlined on the record. Best wishes to you, Mr. Captain.
All right, you have 2 votes to deny your parole. Also, I'm going to vote to deny your parole for the same reasons as stated. 3 votes denied. Today, your parole's been denied. Good luck.
I don't know if you heard the hot mic in there. Someone said, I'm not surprised. I had clicked pause when it was happening, but it's like there are certain things that need to be held sacred, and being a principal he was former principal of Franklin Parish Church, but it was a school. And we'll unpack this, and there's not, Richard, there is a lot of stuff on it, but it's hard to get, to just think about the limited sentence that he received. And he was a principal. And the DA showed up, and bless her for showing up, because so often we don't see that happening. But she's also the one that agreed to the deal. And, maybe in this situation, you heard the victims talking about it, how they are the ones that are bad. They are the ones that are evil in the community. They try to find other churches to attend, and they are shunned because, God forbid, you actually would report to the police what our preacher is doing to your children, what our principal is doing to your children. You heard them say that. And I've seen this firsthand in my own experiences. it's a problem, but it's real. And those survivors who got up and spoke, they were just awesome. I mean, they really were. They just owned it. And was it Keith who said it? He had a mic drop moment. Just beautiful mic drop moment. He said the story so well. He was punished. He was being forced to do lines. This guy not only is he seems to be a little sadistic, power tripping. Like, you forget when you're a principal of a school, there's so much power, but then you just go up beneath it. Like, you're just a principal of a small school. You're so insecure with yourself. You have to beat up on children. You little roach. You're little nothing. He says, we have to write these lines. And they were writing the lines for 3 days. Their hands were hurting, and said, please, just enough. And he said, let me tell you, you can make right choices. You can make wrong choices. But if you make the wrong choices, you have to pay the consequences. And he says, well, now you have to pay the consequences, Mr. Couch. Practice what you preach. And that was such a mic drop moment, how insignificant his former principal must have felt at that moment. Time must be served. A lesson must be learned. A full sentence must be served. And he was saying, and to protect others. And he's, again, one of the most dangerous type. He looks like a normal guy. He's got a family. He's got children. He's married for 25 years. He's a principal of a private school. And what do you think he's been doing? And you just can't help but think that he took the job to have access to his victims. He did this. The suit alleges, this is the civil suit, which we'll get more information but that the accused touched the accusers multiple times when they were students, ages 14 to 18. The incidents took place from 2004 to 2017. This is over a period of 13 years. This isn't an allegation that it happened one time. Oh, this, oh, that. No, 13 years. I mean, I was going to say you can't make it up, but it's like, it's just not surprising. Orton accused Stephen Couch of starting to touch him as he received help with math. The filing states that the defendant would kneel by the desk and allow his hands to touch Orton's legs, sliding into his private parts. The stories of other accusers are similar. Joshua alleges that Stephen Couch touched his private area after he requested help with schoolwork. A third accuser also said he needed help with school, and then he would allegedly kneel down and place his hand on one leg before moving to cup his private parts. A portion of the lawsuit states that he started moving his chair closer to his desk, and when Couch approached, that sometimes Stephen was still able to reach down with his hand. According to the lawsuit, Couch was sent next door to the church to retrieve a box, then caught up with him at the set of stairs. He started smiling. He poked him several times between his legs, at which time he just turned and walked away feeling very uncomfortable. Orton alleges that Couch would forcibly grab him, touch him, laugh and giggle as he was doing so. He said that he would make jokes and laugh about the sexual and mental abuse. He also alleged that he sent the minor text messages but deleted them from his phone the next day. He also accused him of ruining a relationship he had with a young girl from his church in 2017. According to the filing, Couch would not allow the couple to marry because he, as their pastor, set the rules in the church, such as girls and guys with regards to communications. Can you imagine? He was like jealous and controlling and wanted to keep the little boy for himself. Sick. He later gave the girl a cell phone, but she actually confessed to Couch. And according to the documents, she confessed and said, "Oh, we're talking," which you know how that worked. He manipulated it out of her. And so Couch allegedly had the girl delete her pictures from the phone, but retained Orton's phone with personal photos on it. You hear that? He got Orton's phone and kept it so he could have those photos for himself. I mean, you realize that? Oh. You know, the grand jury indicted him, but there 5 accusers came forward. 5 accusers came forward. He pled not guilty to 5 counts involving 5 students and 6 counts between educator and students. Here it is. A felony district. Okay. Molestation of juveniles, a felony charge that carries not less than 5 years and no more than 40 years. 40 years is the maximum you can serve for that, for each charge. And when he took his plea deal, he actually filed an appeal and said that it was too harsh. So, you know, he's so remorseful. He filed an appeal. It was too harsh. You know, here it says that he was served as a teacher, assistant principal, and then principal of the school during 2008, 2016. In January 2018, a teenage student reported to the sheriff's office that he had been inappropriately touched by Couch. After investigating, they found 4 additional, they call them young men, who had likewise reported that Couch had touched them inappropriately when they were minors while at the school. He was arrested on 6 counts, and they negotiated. We saw the DA, and they negotiated this plea deal, which, you know, maybe there's a lot of pressure from the community. They don't want to lock him up forever. Who knows? But they negotiated a deal. And then he said that it was too severe. He was sentenced to 7 years, with 1 year and 6 months of the sentence suspended. I don't know why. And placed on 3 years active supervision. It's just strange. You know, you can't make it up. People, they get 20 years for a possession charge, but when you get yourself into a principal somewhere where you are literally, you know, the in society, it's like you're a place of protection, of guidance, of everyone is trusting you to be there for their, and you betray all that trust for what? For you're literally a roach. You are a wolf in sheep's clothing. You're dangerous. There's something wrong with you. And he gets away with it. a little slap on the back of the hand. What do you think he's going to do when he gets back? Who do you think? You don't think he's going to be preaching when he gets back? There's something a little disturbing here. Okay, I'll put the links in, but it's pretty. There's like just a page about donating to this place, and there's a lot of 1-star with pretty intense comments. And you don't see this. I mean, for people to find this and write this, it seems like a pretty scary place just from those comments. I don't want to read them because I don't know. I just don't. But I'll give you the links. But hey, if you didn't see it, you might not believe it. Although it's like, he'll be free soon, and when that happens, we'll just have to. I don't know. But with that, we'll do one more.